The story of Krazy Joe was torn from yesterday's headlines, and it's as terrifying as tomorrow's.
Good morning. Welcome back to Krazy Joe's Concession Stand. Today I have a review for you. It's a review of the new movie by Yorgos Lanthimos. Yorgos Lanthimos, if I pronounce that correctly. He's the director of last year's Poor Things, starring Emma Stone, which was nominated for and won a couple Oscars this past year. And that was a bizarre little movie, but it was very clearly a Frankenstein story. It was a weird little twist on the Frankenstein story, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Obviously, a lot of people did. It won some Oscars. And based on my enjoyment of Poor Things, when I saw the trailers for his new film, Kind of Kindness, I decided right off the bat, well, I'm there. This is the director of Poor Things. I'm there. I'm going to check it out. Now, I don't know if you saw the trailer for Kind of Kindness, but it's a trailer that tells you absolutely nothing about the movie. You watch that trailer and you know just as little about the movie after watching the trailer as you did before the trailer. It gives you nothing. So I walked into this movie basically blind. Yes, I had seen the trailer, but the trailer didn't tell me anything. So I really walked into this film not knowing what I was going to see. And to say that I was surprised would be a little bit of an understatement, because this movie is just wild. I couldn't have predicted anything that I saw in this film. For one thing, it's 3 stories. It's like an anthology. You could walk in and you don't get one story, you get 3 separate vignettes that happen one after another. All 3 of them star the exact same cast. It stars Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Willem Dafoe. Same actors in all 3 parts, but never playing the same roles. They're always playing different characters, different names, and they really seemingly have no connection to one another, the stories. Now, they do have a connection, but it's not obvious. There is a character in all 3 stories who never speaks. He's a silent character. I don't think he has a single line of dialogue. He's just identified as RMF. And the stories are called The Death of RMF, RMF is Flying, and RMF Eats a Sandwich. And these are the 3 vignettes we get. And I'll just cut right to it. I hated this movie. I really hated this movie. And here's the tragedy of it, is the first story, The Death of RMF, they had me. They had me, man. I was gripped by this story because I was sitting there trying to figure out where it was going. I was waiting for answers. Why is this the way it is? Why is this guy working for this guy? What is the story here? What is happening? And I was enthralled. I was confused. I didn't exactly know what was happening. I was waiting for answers. And then we get to the end of that story. And again, I didn't know I was going to see 3 separate stories. So when that story only lasted about an hour, I was surprised. I was like, oh, this is multiple stories? I didn't know that. And the film lost me more and more as it went along. It had me, and it just slowly lost me more and more and more until we got to the 3rd story. And it was painful to stick it out to the end of this movie. Like, it's a 2-hour, 45-minute movie. Each story is roughly an hour. I didn't time them all, but roughly. Or just under an hour. I don't know. But I was so into the first story. We have Jesse Plemons is a man who works for Willem Dafoe, does whatever Willem Dafoe asks to an insane degree, to the point that he has a list of what he's supposed to eat, what he's supposed to read. just everything in his day is itinerized by Willem Dafoe. And I'm sitting there going, okay, all right, this is weird. Why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? And the story takes some turns. That's not everything. He's asked to do something he doesn't want to do, and this creates conflict because Willem Dafoe says, you got to do this. I want to do this. That's where kind of the conflict of the story comes from. But when we get to the end of that first story, I started to feel like they were playing games with us, because I feel like we never get any kind of satisfying payoff to that first story, which then makes me suspect going into the second story, because you've already had my attention and squandered it on the first story. Then we get to the second story, RMF is flying, and it's okay. Is this ever going to tie together? Are we ever going to get answers? And then that one just starts to get more absurd than the first one. And then the third one and that's the other thing. The premise of the film, the stories get more and more weird and absurd and less connected to reality in each passing story, which just kept me sitting there thinking, what is going on? What am I watching? Does this movie have a point? Does this story have a point? Are these stories going to connect in some way at the end? And that's pretty much like the only thing that I wanted to get up and leave. I really did. I don't often get up and leave in the middle of a movie. I don't do that very often. But this is one where I really wanted to. But I stayed put because I kept waiting to see if we were going to get an explanation of some kind, if it was all going to be tied together in some way. And I walked out very disappointed. I mean, there is a unifying factor in this character of RMF who doesn't speak, but it's so loose that there might as well have not been anything connecting them. We didn't need anything connecting them. The story just goes nowhere. So walking out, I'm so baffled. I look it up and I notice that it's described on Wikipedia as an absurdist comedy. An absurdist comedy. And I thought to myself, what? Absurdist comedy? Where was the comedy? I mean, I saw it in a fairly full theater. I mean, it wasn't jam-packed, but there was, a number of people there. Nobody laughed. Not once. There wasn't a single person laughing in this film. Where was the comedy? This film just seemed like it was an inside joke for the director. Like, hey, watch me trick these people. I'm gonna show them some weird shit, and they're gonna sit there and be puzzled by it. This is gonna be great. I feel like that's what this movie was. Like he just was trying to see how much he can make an audience take. I don't know. I'm telling you, man. For the first hour, you had my attention. You had me. And you just lost me more and more and more as these stories went on, when I realized that there really wasn't anything tying any of this together, and that we really weren't going to get any kind of resolution. I loved Poor Things. This is the director of Poor Things, Yorgos Lanthimos, if I pronounced it correctly. This guy won't get my blind trust again. I can tell you that much. Like, I went and saw this based on his name because of how good Poor Things was. Yeah, that ends now. Maybe if he makes another movie and I hear good things about it, I'll go check it out. But I'm not running out to see one of his movies based on his name again, because whereas he gained my trust with Poor Things, in this one I felt like he abused that trust. I hate this movie. I can't recommend it. But you know what I always say? If a movie looks interesting to you, never let someone tell you not to go see it. Go check it out for yourself, because film is subjective. Your opinion may be different than mine. So there you go. If you saw the trailer, and if you're intrigued by this, or if you've seen his previous films and are intrigued and feel this is something you need to check out, well, by all means, go check it out. But this is a film I cannot recommend. I hated this. I will never watch this again. And I don't have any desire to, I don't trust this director anymore. I don't know. I could be won back over. I can be won back over. If he makes something, I hear it's really, really good, I'll check it out. But as for this, sorry, Yorgos, you had me, you lost me. All right, everybody, keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas
with the plastic feet.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
Tell everyone you need.
Keep wearing those pajamas
with the back door flap.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
Don't open, it's a trap.
Oh no,
it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander adamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas.
Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas.
And now we're having fun.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
And now the song is done.